In 1987, the British publisher Walker Books released a children's picture book titled Where's Wally? In North America, he would be renamed Waldo. The premise was elemental. Find a single distinctively dressed man in a series of illustrations packed with thousands of other figures. It became one of the most successful publishing phenomena of the 20th century, a global byword for a simple, harmless visual game. That is one fact. Here is another. The book's creator, Martin Hanford, was a solitary child who grew up drawing massive battle scenes, a quiet observer fascinated by the dynamics of crowds he never felt a part of. He described his own signature character not as a hero or a jester, but as a persona he adopted, someone who, like him, was lost in the spectacle. The game we play, the search for one man, was born from one man's lifelong feeling of being irrevocably, fundamentally alone. The contradiction between the cheerful public game and its intensely private, isolated origin is where we begin. We should start with the man himself, Waldo, the figure at the centre of the puzzle. His design is a study in controlled contradiction. He is engineered for visibility, the red and white striped shirt, the matching bobble hat, the round glasses, the blue jeans. In any normal context, he would be impossible to miss. His entire presentation is a declaration of presence. He is a beacon, yet his sole purpose is to disappear. He is conspicuous so that his concealment can become a challenge. He is a man screaming, "Look at me," in a world designed to make that impossible. His expression is fixed, a simple, pleasant, almost vacant smile. His eyes, obscured by the thick glasses, betray nothing. He is not reacting to the chaos around him. He is not a participant in the scenes he wanders through. He is a passive observer, a tourist in his own life. He carries the tools of a perpetual traveller: a walking stick, a backpack, sometimes a kettle, a sleeping bag, a camera. He is always equipped to move on, but never to arrive. He has no home. He belongs to no single place, which allows him to be inserted into any place. He is the universal outsider. This portability is not a sign of freedom, but of profound rootlessness. He is not exploring the world, he is drifting through it, forever a visitor, never a resident. This characterization is not an accident. According to Hanford's own spare comments on his creation, Waldo's status as a persona is key. Hanford, the quiet man who preferred to be in the studio, created an avatar who could go out into the world for him, but the avatar inherited its creator's disposition. Waldo doesn't interact, he doesn't join in, he stands, he watches, he is seen. His only function is to be located by an outside observer, the reader. He exists to be the object of a search, a passive role that confirms his separation from the world he inhabits. He is the ultimate validation of the feeling of being a single, isolated consciousness looking out at a teeming, incomprehensible mass of humanity. He is the lonely child, grown up but not changed, still just watching the crowds. Now, let's widen the aperture. Let us move from the figure of Waldo to the scenes themselves, the crowds he is lost within. The popular conception of these illustrations is one of whimsical, bustling fun, a day at the beach, a medieval castle, a department store. But a closer examination, a more forensic reading of the visual evidence, reveals a consistent and unsettling worldview. These are not just busy scenes. They are documents of systemic chaos, entropy, and low-grade disaster. Exhibit A, the book Where's Waldo? The fantastic journey, page titled The Unfriendly Giants. In the lower right quadrant, a giant is holding a man upside down, shaking coins from his pockets. Nearby, Another giant is about to stomp on a small car. In the background, a volcano is erupting. This is not a peaceful land. It is a world of casual violence and imminent threat, presented with the same cheerful colour palette as a harmless beach scene. The tone of the art and the content of the art are in direct conflict. Exhibit B, Where's Waldo in Hollywood? The scene depicting a massive movie set for a historical epic. It appears to be a chaotic but professional film production. But look closer. In the upper left, a stuntman has missed the airbag and is falling directly toward the pavement. In the centre, a costume department is on fire. To the right, 2 actors are engaged in a real sword fight, drawing blood, while the director looks on ineffectually. An escaped lion is chasing a terrified crew member. The entire scene is a catalogue of failures, accidents and emergencies, all happening simultaneously and all ignored by almost everyone present. Each character is locked in their own private drama, oblivious to the larger catastrophe unfolding around them. This pattern is relentless. It is the core grammar of the Waldo universe. In The Great Waldo Search, the scene of the sinking ship shows dozens of people falling into the water, lifeboats capsizing and sharks circling. It's presented not as a tragedy, but as a colourful tableau. In a scene depicting a gold rush, multiple miners are being robbed, falling down shafts, or caught in cave-ins. In a depiction of the Stone Age, a man is about to be run over by a massive boulder, while another is being carried away by a pterodactyl. The world that Martin Hanford built for his avatar is a world of constant, pervasive and completely normalised disaster. The humour, what little there is almost always at someone's expense. People slip on banana peels, get hit with pies, have their clothes stolen, or find themselves in moments of profound public embarrassment. But more often, the details are not humorous at all. They are simply grim. There are figures being led to execution blocks in medieval scenes. There are plane crashes in the background of otherwise sunny landscapes. The sheer density of information means most of these details are missed on a first, second, or even 10th pass. They are not the point of the game, but they are not incidental either. They are the texture of the world. They are the truth that the search for the smiling man in the striped shirt is designed to distract you from. What does it mean to create a world so consistently fraught with peril and misfortune? It suggests a view of society not as a community, but as a chaotic, unpredictable, and fundamentally unsafe system. The crowds are not gatherings of people. They are collections of atomized individuals, each pursuing their own agenda, largely indifferent to the well-being of those around them. The search for Waldo forces the reader to adopt a God's eye view, to see the entire system at once. And from that perspective, the system is revealed to be deeply, irrevocably broken. It is a perfect visual metaphor for anxiety, the feeling that at any moment, things could fall apart, and that no one would particularly care if they did. Hanford's lonely child is not just watching a crowd, he is watching a society in a state of quiet, colourful decay. The investigation must now expand again, from the man to his environment, and now to the narrative that connects them. Though often seen as static images, the Waldo books do contain a recurring cast of characters who create a kind of minimalist plot, a set of repeating relationships. These characters are not additions for variety. They are essential to understanding the psychological landscape of the series. They are functions of Waldo's condition. First, there is Wenda. Introduced later in the series, she is presented as Waldo's female counterpart. She dresses in a similar red and white striped outfit. She is Waldo's companion, but their relationship is not one of simple partnership. In the books where she appears, the goal is often to find both of them. She is, in effect, another Waldo, another isolated figure defined by her visual distinctiveness and her capacity for disappearing. She is his mirror image. However, the prompt for this analysis mentions an obsessive quality. Let's examine the evidence. In the introductions to some books, Waldo is described as following Wenda's trail of dropped camera film. He is tracking her. She is always ahead of him, an object of pursuit. This is not a journey they take together, it is a chase. Waldo, the passive observer, is given a motivation to find the one other person in the world who is just like him. His search for connection, for a cure to his fundamental solitude, manifests as a relentless, obsessive pursuit of his own reflection. He is not looking for a partner, he is trying to catch himself. Wenda represents the possibility of not being alone, a possibility that must, by the logic of the series, always remain just out of reach. Then there is Oddlaw. His name, famously, is Waldo, spelled backward. His dress is a colour-inverted version of Waldo's, yellow and black stripes instead of red and white. He is described explicitly as Waldo's nemesis. His purpose is to steal Waldo's walking stick. He is the active antagonist in a world defined by passivity, while Waldo simply stands and observes. Oddlaw schemes. He sneers where Waldo smiles. He is malice made manifest. Oddlaw is the world's hostility, personified. If the ambient chaos of the crowd is the passive threat, Oddlaw is the active one. He represents the external forces that seek to hinder and harm. He is the paranoia of the lonely man realized, the suspicion that you are not just ignored by the crowd, but actively targeted by it. He is the negative image, the photographic inverse of the hero. Waldo is defined by being lost. Oddlaw is defined by his malevolent search. It's significant that his goal is to steal Waldo's walking stick, the very tool that marks Waldo as a perpetual wanderer. Oddlaw's goal is to immobilize Waldo, to stop his endless journey. He is the desire for stasis, for an end to the search, twisted into a villainous form. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, there is Wizard Whitebeard. He is the figure who, in the fiction of the series, sends Waldo on his journeys. He is the quest giver, the magical engine of the plot. He appears, points Waldo toward a new land, and the search begins again. He seems to be a benevolent, if eccentric, mentor, but the prompt notes he chases Waldo eternally. This is a critical detail, one that reconfigures his entire role. He is not just the one who starts the journey, he is also a pursuer. Like Oddlaw, like Waldo himself in his pursuit of Wenda, the wizard is part of the universal chase. Why would the person who sends Waldo away also be the one chasing him? One interpretation is that the wizard represents the creative impulse itself. He is the force that compels Hanford, the creator, to keep making these pages. He is the voice that says, you must you must create another world. You must send your avatar out one more time. The journey never ends because the compulsion to create never ends. The wizard chases Waldo to ensure the search continues. He is the embodiment of the artistic process as a relentless, demanding master. He grants Waldo the ability to travel, but denies him the ability to ever rest. He is the author's own drive, a force both magical and tyrannical, the reason Waldo can never, ever go home. Together, these four characters form a complete psychological diagram: the isolated self, Waldo; the idealized other, Wenda; the hostile world, Oddlaw; and the relentless internal drive, the wizard. Let's pull the lens back further, into our own world. The Waldo books were not a niche art project. They were a cultural and commercial juggernaut. By the mid-1990s, the series had sold tens of millions of copies worldwide. It spawned television shows, video games, and endless merchandise. The red and white striped figure became an instantly recognizable icon, a shorthand for searching, for finding something hidden in plain sight. There is a profound irony here. A body of work born from a single individual's experience of profound isolation became a tool for mass market communal entertainment. Families would gather around the pages. Friends would compete to find him first. The intensely private act of a solitary artist observing the world was transformed into a shared public ritual. The game that millions played was, in its essence, a simulation of Martin Hanford's own psychological state. The commercial success depended on a specific kind of reading. It required the audience to treat the ambient disaster and chaos in the illustrations as mere texture, as whimsical gags, and not as a coherent, grim worldview. The player's focus is narrowed to a single task: find the man. This task-oriented approach means that the context, the burning buildings, the sinking ships, the casual cruelties, becomes irrelevant noise. The game's structure teaches the player to ignore the very thing the art is saturated with: a sense of pervasive dread. In a way, the public reception of Where's Waldo mirrored the experience of being in one of its crowds. The world could be falling apart, but as long as you were focused on your own small task, your own personal search, you wouldn't have to notice. The phenomenon was built on the audience tacitly agreeing to participate in this collective act of looking away. They looked for Waldo, and in doing so, they looked away from everything else. The very mechanism of the game was a form of distraction from its own deeper, more troubling content. The world embraced Hanford's creation by missing its point entirely. Now, we must arrive at the centre of these concentric circles, the origin point, Martin Hanford himself. To understand the Waldo books is to understand the man who spent years of his life meticulously rendering them into existence. His biography is not separate from his work, it is the source code. Born in London in 1956, Hanford was, by his own account, a solitary and bookish child. He didn't enjoy sports or playing with other children. His passion was drawing. From a very young age, he drew enormous, detailed battle scenes filled with thousands of tiny soldiers. He was fascinated with the visual spectacle of crowds, of massed figures, but always from the position of an outside observer. He wasn't drawing the experience of being in a battle, he was drawing the experience of looking at one from a safe distance. This is the foundational impulse of his entire career, the creation and control of overwhelming complexity from a position of isolated safety. After art college, he worked as a freelance illustrator, often drawing crowd scenes for magazines and advertisements. His unique talent was already apparent. In 1986, the art director at Walker Books saw his work and suggested he create a book centered around his dense illustrations. The idea was to have a single, identifiable character who the reader would have to find in these crowds, a focal point. Hanford developed the character of Wally, a world traveller and time travel enthusiast, with a distinctive look. He has said the name had a slightly wimpish quality he found appealing. Waldo was not an adventurer, he was just a guy. The process of creating a Waldo illustration was famously, punishingly intricate. Hanford would spend up to 8 weeks on a single 2-page spread. He would first draw the entire scene in black ink, creating the vast architecture of the crowd. He would map out the main pathways, the large gags, the overall flow. Then he would go back and fill in every single figure, one by one, each with their own posture, their own expression, their own tiny story. Only at the very end, as the final step, would he draw Waldo, inserting him into a space he had reserved. Think about what this process means. For weeks at a time, Martin Hanford was the sole, omniscient god of a universe of his own creation. He alone decided the fate of every single one of the thousands of figures on the page. He designed the chaos, He choreographed the disasters, he scripted the tiny comedies and tragedies, and he controlled the one figure who mattered most. He always knew where Waldo was. The game for the reader was a search, but for the creator, it was an act of deliberate placement. The entire exercise was one of absolute control over a world that was, by design, completely out of control. It was a way to master the overwhelming feeling of the crowd by becoming its architect. This obsessive, painstaking method was, for a time, a functional survival strategy. It channeled his solitary nature into a productive, celebrated art form. But the pressure of the series' success began to mount. The demand for new books was immense. The very process that gave him control became a source of crushing stress. The complexity he had to manage grew with each book. The worlds got denser, the details more numerous. The prompt for this investigation ends on a stark note. Hanford quit from stress, series hiatus. After the release of Where's Waldo, the Wonder Book, in 1997, the primary series of books came to a sudden halt. For nearly a decade, no new, original Waldo books by Hanford were published. While collections and reissues appeared, the engine of creation had stopped. The man who built the worlds had walked away from them. According to reports and interviews from the time, the sheer strain of the work had become unbearable. The 8-week marathons for each drawing, the microscopic level of detail, the pressure to top the previous book. It all took a severe personal toll. The psychological mechanism that had allowed him to cope with the world had become a machine that was consuming him. The lonely god grew tired of his universe. The act of controlling the chaos was no longer a source of comfort, but a source of profound exhaustion. The hiatus was not a commercial strategy. It was an act of self-preservation. Martin Hanford had to stop searching for Waldo because the search was breaking him. And so, we return to where we started. A single image, a man in a red and white striped shirt and a bobble hat, standing in a crowd, smiling his simple, vacant smile. We began by seeing him as the object of a children's game, a simple puzzle. Now, the image is different. The man is not a game piece. He is a self-portrait. He is the ghost in his own machine. His smile is not one of happiness, but of passivity. The face of a man who has surrendered to the chaos around him. His perpetual journey is not an adventure, but a sentence. He is condemned to wander through worlds of casual disaster, pursued by his own creative impulse, chasing a reflection of himself he can never catch. The search for Waldo was never the point. The real game was the one Martin Hanford was playing with himself. Was immense. When we look at the final was immense. When we look at the final books, we are looking at the work of a man reaching his absolute limit. The hiatus was not an ending to the story, but its necessary and humane conclusion. After years of sending his lonely avatar out into the teeming, dangerous and indifferent crowds, Martin Hanford finally did the one thing the wizard and the world would never let him do. He let Waldo stop. He let him be still. He allowed the search to finally be over.